1 Samuel chapter 17 tells the story of David and Goliath. David at the time is anywhere from 10 to 17, and Goliath is a grown-ass man dubbed the Giant. To make a long story short, with the power of God and a slingshot, David defeats Goliath. The David and Goliath trope can be simplified as a fight where an opponent is obviously outmatched. This doesn't have to include the main character, but often the main character is the outclassed one and has to find other clever ways to defeat his or her opponent or come back stronger next time. A classic example is that your opponent is bigger and taller than you are. To counter this, usually the main character being smaller makes him faster, but in real life, this isn't always true. If someone is taller than you, unless he or she is morbidly obese, or you have some kind of training to even things out, they will probably be faster. In Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Miles eventually fights Kingpin. Kingpin is obviously much bigger and therefore stronger than Miles. He was also strong enough to bring a gun to the fight, but for some reason had the aim of a stormtrooper and the grip of a newborn baby. Even though this is the most comical iteration of Kingpin yet, he can still move his weight and he runs towards Morales, who actually runs away at first. Morales evens the odds by using the environment around him and his superpowers, which eventually landed the W. In The Last Wish, Puss chooses not to take the coward's way out and instead faces death. Despite the height difference, both fight with strength and speed, and death is especially merciless, almost earning the movie a PG-13 rating. Puss needed to use the element of surprise to save his life, and from then on simply fights better than death, probably motivated by the friends he met and his last life. And last but not least, in Kung Fu Panda, Tai Lung is introduced to the audience as a ruthlessly resourceful and ruthless villain who will stop at nothing. If we excuse the stormtrooper rhinos, the prison break scene is a masterpiece. Motivated by the need to prove Shifu wrong and good old childhood trauma, to the audience, for most of the movie it looks like Tai Lung is obviously going to defeat Po. However, Po actually uses his size and unorthodox methods to his advantage. Because he never had years of proper training, he cannot be properly countered. Other than the fact that all these movies are masterpieces, what's one thing that you noticed? All these movies are animated. The David and Goliath story is often exaggerated to make Goliath a literal giant. Even though this may not be historically or biblically accurate, this portrayal only makes Goliath more intimidating. The same thing cannot be said for Kingpin, but the point is, animation often exaggerates. Reducing frame rate can make things seemingly faster. Colors and textures can make us feel a certain way. Even though there are some real-life examples of the David and Goliath trope, such as David and Goliath, and The Punisher vs. the Russian, I like the exaggeration that animation brings. Overall, I love the David and Goliath story and the trope I named after it. This is actually supposed to be a game dev channel, but due to my case of chronic procrastination, I'm gonna be uploading video essays like this for inspiration instead of actually being productive. If you made it this far into the video, I don't actually have any spoilers for my upcoming game, but all these video essays I will be making will have some element that I'm gonna take away and somehow incorporate into multiple boss fights that I want to include. Subscribe.